Good morning, greetings, friends, and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I am your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I use nutritional supplements where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures. If you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your health and vitality and well-being and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be, but you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body, you are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health challenge. That is why we are here every day on The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 32 years of practicing pharmacy, I have seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes, hypertension, obesity, skin diseases like psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, acne, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds, recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle, but what is in the world of the body, what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure. Because the human biological system is a healing system, it's a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis. And while some folks may call that a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. If you have questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, if you want to wean yourself off your meds and get on a good nutritional supplement program, we are here for you on The Bright Side. 844-236-6010. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you have a common or success story you'd like to share, questions about ingredients or formulations, 844-236-6010 is our number. And if you want to purchase longevity products, you can call 866-735-2470. That's 866-735-2470. Or go to the websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. Purchase all your favorite longevity products right off the website. You can also sign up to join the Brightside Ben team off brightsideben.com, criticalhealthnews.com, or pharmacistben.com. We've got news stories and blog posts and videos, lots of good health information, free health information. Even if you don't purchase longevity products or sign up to join the Brightside Ben team, you get a lot of value off the websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, criticalhealthnews.com. It's all about value. Value means making things better, appreciating things. When something is valuable, we appreciate it. Creating value means creating things that people appreciate. That's how you have a great life, is you create value wherever you go. That's how you have a successful business, is you create value. If your business is not successful, you haven't created value, or you haven't at least created perceived value. People don't perceive value. It's all about value. All right. Anyway, 844-236-6010 is our number. We're talking about one of my all-time favorite subjects when it comes to nutrition, and that is the idea of what are called the transition metals. They are the most confusing subject, in my opinion. The most confusing, difficult to understand aspect of nutrition are these metals, these minerals that are smack dab in the middle of the periodic table. By the way, heavy metals, the so-called term heavy metals, that's kind of basically the same thing as what we're talking about here, the transition metals. When you hear about heavy metals, we're basically talking about the same thing. Heavy metals are metals. Metals are substances that have, I called them yesterday, racist atoms. They're atoms that all congregate with their own kind. And because of that, they conduct electrical energy. And heavy refers to the fact that they're in the sort of at the bottom of the periodic table. So they call them heavy metals. But do you know what? Heavy metals, even though we hear about heavy metals as being toxic and avoiding heavy metals and detoxification from heavy metals, you hear that all the time. It turns out that heavy metals are not toxic necessarily. They can be, but not necessarily. In fact, sometimes heavy metals are nutritional. Zinc is a heavy metal. Copper is a heavy metal. Manganese is a heavy metal. Molybdenum is a heavy metal. So you can have heavy metals that are nutritional. They're not just necessarily toxic. Of course, you can also have toxic heavy metals. And this just highlights how confusing this whole subject of metals and minerals and transition metals are. But nonetheless, they are really, really, really important. And if we don't understand them, we're not going to understand how minerals work. And you know what? We're not going to understand how protein works, and we're not going to understand how detoxification works. And we're just going to end up buying things and listening to people who don't know what they're talking about, and buying products that don't work, and all because we don't understand how these things operate inside the body. So anyway, you got conductive metals that can change their electrical nature quickly. In order for something to conduct effectively, it has to have an ability to be flexible. When things aren't flexible, they don't conduct. That's, like you said yesterday, that's a metaphor. You want to be flexible so you can conduct energy. Flexibility allows you to conduct energy more effectively. On the periodic table, which, by the way, the periodic table, as confusing as it may be, or as hard to understand, or as inscrutable as it may be for the average person to kind of comprehend, the periodic table is like the alphabet of reality. Just like you have an alphabet for language, you got an alphabet for physical reality, and the alphabet for the world around us is the periodic table. So by understanding the periodic table, you can understand a lot about how the world is put together. And I'm not saying we all have to understand it, but I'm just saying if your healthcare professional or your person who's giving you health advice doesn't understand the periodic table and how the whole thing's put together, then basically he's just kind of reading stuff off of the internet. See, if we don't understand the real basics in chemistry, the actual fundamental basics, and that for the most part, that's physics. If you really want to go deep down, it's mathematics. But if we don't understand the physics and the chemistry of it, we're just gonna fall for everything that we're told. We're gonna buy every little rumor and medical meme that is injected into the meme verse, into the mindset of the cultural mindset about what we're supposed to do for our bodies. We'll believe that's nonsense about cholesterol, and we'll take a statin drug, and we'll say that our hypertension is essential. It's just genetic, or we'll say anything is genetic. We'll say I have an MTHFR deficiency. That's the latest one I hear now. I have an MTHFR deficiency because we're told we have an MTHFR deficiency. Think about how many things we believe about our health just because somebody told us it, because we simply don't understand how the fundamentals work. So understanding these fundamentals are really, really important. Hopefully nobody's tuning out here, and at least metaphorically, and kind of falling asleep, because it's really important. Heavy metals are heavy and they're metal, but that doesn't necessarily make them toxic. Okay, and that just adds to the whole confusion. That's all the stuff we're talking about is called P-Chem, physical chemistry. So anyway, these heavy metals and these transition metals, here's what makes them so interesting, active, problematic, important, toxic. They are like vacuum cleaners for energy. They suck up electrical energy. The heavy metals, the nutritional metals, are very, 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 as we say in chemistry, positively charged. What that means is they got empty spaces. These empty, nature abhors a vacuum. It will always try to fill empty spaces, and these empty spaces in these transition metals and these heavy metals love lots of energy because that fills up the empty spaces. So they're always looking for electricity. They're always looking for pieces of electricity, or as we said, electrons. They are trying to find electrons. They're trying to find electricity badly. And one of the richest sources of electricity were these blank, empty-spaced heavy metals or metal or transition metals are in these transition metals. These empty spaces will automatically look for electricity, and one of the richest sources of electricity is proteins, especially sulfur proteins. And these heavy metals react with these sulfur proteins and wreak havoc on the body because the body is filled with sulfur proteins. And that's the problem with the heavy metals. That's the toxicity of the heavy metals. On the other hand, that same kind of electron sucking effect can activate things. That electron sucking effect, think of how two magnets go together, a positive charge and a negative charge. It's all really about magnets here. If you can picture magnets, you can picture this whole thing. So if you take two magnets, a positive charge and a negative charge, you'll see that the negative charge and the positive charge want to go together. That's because the positive charge is missing electricity and the negative charge has extra electricity. So you put a negative and positive, boom, they click together. If it happens in a toxic way, we call that's a bad thing. but it can also happen in a positive way. And that's why these heavy metal minerals like selenium and iodine and copper and zinc are so darn important. We'll talk about that when we come back from our break. 844-236-6010 is our number. 844-236-6010. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. 844-236-6010 is our number. Got a bunch of lines open for you if you have questions about anything we're speaking about here today, a comment or success story you'd like to share. We're talking about the electrical nature of the body. We started off talking about the electrical nature of the body. The body's like an electromagnetic system. It emits an electromagnetic field. It's pumping out electromagnetic energy at all times. It's running on electromagnetic energy, and we never hear about it because it's kind of weird. Electromagnetic energy is something we all obviously live with intimately, but we really don't know what the heck it is, which is understandable because at the most fundamental level, quantum physics and all the stuff that we're talking about here today is just pretty hard to understand. It's a big old mystery. Nonetheless, we can use it and we can play with it. The more we understand it, the more we can leverage it. And that's the key here, is understanding how to leverage this whole thing. If we don't know how to leverage it because we don't have the information, we're going to fall for every silly little idea and formula that's out there. So anyway, we got the heavy metals. The heavy metals are heavy and they're metal, obviously, but they're not always toxic and they're not always bad, even though that's what we hear. And that's what 99.99% of the population out there would tell you. Oh yeah, heavy metals are bad stuff, are bad things. They're not necessarily. They can be, but not necessarily. They're basically magnetic, highly magnetic. And this magnetic property has an ability to, number one, disrupt magnetism in the body, and number two, support magnetism in the body. When it disrupts magnetism in the body, we call it a poison or a toxin. When it supports magnetism in the body, we call it a nutrient. And the line between supporting magnetism and disrupting magnetism sometimes is a little bit thin. That's why you have these are the metals, these are the minerals, these are the nutrients in the body that you got to be a little bit careful, or in supplements that you got to be a little bit careful of. A little bit. It's not going to kill you. These, if you overdose on zinc, although you could theoretically. The therapeutic window of the transition metals, or the heavy metals like zinc and copper and manganese, etc., is narrower than most nutrients. And so you got to be a little bit careful with these things. When you use zinc and copper and selenium and iodine in just the right amounts, these nutrients, when they're electrically active, these nutrients turn on enzyme reactions, turn on chemistry, activate proteins, support proteins. Their electromagnetic property is lent to turn on enzymes and to make things happen. There's a whole class of proteins and enzymes called metalloproteins. In fact, a huge amount of our proteins are metalloproteins. And there's also metalloenzymes. These metalloproteins and metalloenzymes are turned on by metals, by the transition metals. The enzymes and the proteins, that's how they do their business. And without enough zinc, you can't make these metalloenzymes. This is why zinc deficiency will kill you. Same with selenium deficiency. On the other hand, if you take too much, you can have a problem. Now, colloidal and plant-derived selenium, and colloidal and plant-derived zinc, those are protected. Those they're not quite as electrically active because they're surrounded with material, biological material. That's what makes them biological minerals. That's why you don't have to worry about colloidal zinc. You don't have to worry about colloidal selenium. You don't even have to worry about colloidal mercury. Plant-derived, that is, where it's protected. Even nickel. Nickel's an essential nutrient. Arsenic is an essential nutrient. Fluoride is an essential nutrient. Sometimes these nutrients these so-called toxins are actually in the right form are nutritional. So interestingly, the toxic heavy metals, they're working by sucking up electrons. So check this out. If you can give the body certain kinds of electrons, you can neutralize the heavy metals. For example, heavy metals are especially in love with sulfur in the form of something called sulfate. Sulfate is one of the most underappreciated, maybe the most underappreciated molecules in the body, sulfate. It's like a pure I don't say pure, but it's a very powerful source of electricity. It's highly electrical. The body will stick one of these electrical sulfates onto cholesterol to make the cholesterol flow through fluids more effectively. It electrifies the cholesterol. Sulfate electrifies the vitamin D. Sulfate electrifies other molecules. Sulfate is a rich source of electricity. And this is one reason why you want to make sure you got lots of sulfur in your diet, and also MSM sulfur. This is why MSM sulfur is so multifunctional, by the way. MSM sulfur, organic sulfur, is one of the most multifunctional supplements you could ever take. And sulfur, unfortunately, is one of those minerals that we don't get enough of because of the soils. The best soils for sulfur are volcanic soils. And it's not a coincidence that in Japan and in Greece and in Italy, where they have some of the richest volcanic soils on the planet, you have very relatively low rates of heart disease and higher longevity. It's not an accident, and it could very well have to do with the volcanic soil and the veggies that are grown in the volcanic soil and the sulfur. Today, we have a sulfur deficiency problem because of oil runoff and water runoff and irrigation, etc. So a lot of people are deficient in sulfur. What's even more important is that sulfur is found in number one, stinky foods like onions and garlic. Is also found in eggs, and it's also found in organ meats. And it turns out it's found in the very foods we're told not to eat. So sulfur deficiency is real. As it turns out, sulfur is, because it's such a rich source of electricity in the form of sulfates, sulfur can actually work as a decoy for heavy metals, so that the heavy metals will attack the sulfur that you're eating, the sulfate, and leave alone your own sulfur proteins. It can help keep your proteins intact by neutralizing the heavy metals. Heavy metals are like a positive charge. They're a shortage of electrons. Sulfur and sulfates are a source of electrons. You can use your sulfur from your MSM to detoxify your heavy metals. Selenium, by the way, sometimes works too. This is one of the reasons why selenium can be one of the reasons. There's a lot of reasons why selenium is important. You can use veggies as a source of sulfur, stinky veggies. Pretty much not just stinky ones. Broccoli is a good source of sulfur. Your more substantial vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower, the cruciferous vegetables, and also the stinky vegetables. Those are good sources of sulfur. And then also what are called fulvics or humics. You can get and I have a fulvic mineral supplement coming out here in the next few days. You can use fulvic mineral supplements to neutralize electrons, to neutralize heavy metals. So understanding all this stuff gives you some power now. Now it makes sense. Heavy metals are magnets. You can disrupt. They work by disrupting magnetics in the body. You can neutralize them by eating more magnetic substances. These the good stuff on the good side, the zinc and the selenium and the iodine and the molybdenum and the manganese, they activate things. These are nutritional substances that activate. They're especially important in the detox system. They activate detox enzymes. Glutathione, the famous glutathione, works by having a selenium activation on its enzyme portion. Glutathione is very interesting. Another interesting misunderstood substance. Glutathione is made up of 3 amino acids, but it hooks up with an enzyme. And by hooking up with an enzyme, it activates the enzyme, and that enzyme itself is activated by selenium. So they all work together. All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. All right, we are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Got lines open at 844-236-6010, 844-236-6010. If you have questions about nutrition, prescription drugs, your health challenge that you or your loved one may be dealing with, if you want to get on a good nutritional supplement program, if you have a comment or success story you'd like to share, questions about our True Skin Health products or success stories, love hearing those about our True Skin Health products. 844-236-6010 is our number. You can purchase Longevity products by calling 866-735-2470, 866-735-2470. You can also head to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, criticalhealthnews.com. You can also sign up to join the Brightside Ben team off the websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com. Okay, from the Journal of Investigative Dermatology, high-dose vitamin D can heal sunburn. High-dose vitamin D can heal sunburn. How do you like that? Now, by high dose, we're talking like 50,000 to 200,000 international units a day. According to this article that was published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology, people given the highest doses, 200,000 international units a day. Keep in mind, the RDA is 400 IU of vitamin D. So people given the highest doses of vitamin D saw their skin inflammation subside dramatically after just 48 hours, and they also had less skin redness, said researchers at Case Western University in Ohio. Vitamin D is an epigenetic factor. It's not even really a vitamin, technically speaking. We call it a vitamin because it's got to be made. And but really, it's just a hormone. It makes things happen. It doesn't. Vitamins help things happen. Hormones make things happen. Vitamin D is a hormone. It makes things happen. It is an integral component of the body that has to be made from outside the body, sort of. It's made in the skin, which is not outside the body, but it requires the sun, which is outside the body. So they call it a vitamin. And vitamin D is epigenetic. It turns on genes. It especially turns on the genes that protect us from sunburn. The sun is an epigenetic factor. The environment is an epigenetic factor. And this idea of genetics and the link of genetics to our chronic health challenges is just so fallacious to anybody who understands biochemistry. The idea that your genes are fixed, that you have an MTHFR deficiency. I'm on an MTHFR deficiency rant today because I keep getting these letters, and I got another one. MTHFR deficiency genes. These are genes that regulate MTHFR, and if the genes don't work, if the genes aren't making, if you're not making MTHFR, they say, oh, you got a gene deficiency, you got a mutation, a gene mutation. Hello, the genes change with the environment. They change with the nutritional environment. They change with the external environment, with the air we're breathing, with the sun we're getting, with the water we're drinking. They change. The genetics change. The genetics change. Nobody has to be committed to having their breasts cut off or being on a prescription drug protocol because they have a specific genetic profile. Don't fall for it. Vitamin D is a classic way that you manipulate genes. Every thought you think changes your genes. Every bite, every morsel of food you eat. In fact, your thoughts, your emotions, and your food are the three major control points for genetics. Your thoughts, your food, and your feelings, your emotions. Oxygen you're breathing probably plays a role as well. And water you're drinking, which is kind of like food. In any case, vitamin D, it's very ironic that vitamin D is protective against the sun because guess what? When you use your sunscreen, you're not going to be making vitamin D. And this is how we get hoodwinked, just an example of how we get hoodwinked, into buying the medical model's idea that we need to be fixed, that we're not good enough, that we're not okay, that we need to have protection from a drug. And I know, sunscreen's not well, it is a technically drug. It's an over-the-counter drug. That we need to be protected from the sun. Vitamin D protects us from the sun. What we need to be doing is making sure we're getting enough essential fats and making sure we're getting enough of them, our transition metals, our minerals like zinc and selenium, and making sure we're getting our B vitamins, and making sure we're getting our electrolytes, and making sure we're staying away from crappy food. That's what we really should be doing. And not only when we do that, not only will we not get sunburn, not only will we not have to take a prescription drug, but we'll also live longer and our blood pressure will be healthier, our weight will be better, and we'll have more energy and we'll look better too. That's what happens when you actually leverage the power of the body instead of turning to the pharmacomedical model, which, by the way, doesn't give a rat's you-know-what about us. It's there as a profit center. We're commodities, or it's a commodity for us. We're a commodity for it. All right. 844-236-6010 is our number, 844-236-6010. And we got my buddy, Dr. Drew, on the line. Dr. Drew, I'm glad you called.
Good morning, Pharmacist Ben. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Drew. So before we even get into, I know we're going to talk a little about the minerals because I told you to call, but tell the folks who you are a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a longevity consultant for the George Norrie Coast to Coast radio show for 7 or 8 years. I don't know, a long time now, thousands of people.
You've helped a lot of people, and I hear great things about how you're doing your work. And
doing my best, Ben. Doing my best.
Thank you for all that. So you're a chiropractor.
And I have a Chinese medical practice, and I'm a chiropractor here in the Western Slope of Montrose, Colorado. If anybody's in the area, please feel free to call me for any kind of consultation.
Do you have a website?
Yes, it's San Juan Chiropractic, like the San Juan Mountains here. San Juan Chiropractic here in Montrose. You can contact me through the office anytime, Monday through Friday. I'll get back to you.
Do you have an office phone? Hang on, real quick. Do you have an office phone?
Yes, I do have an office phone. Let me give you the number.
Okay.
The number is 970-240-8400. 970-240-8400.
And what's your specialty? What's your expertise?
I have a Chinese medical practice. I'm a big-time herbalist, acupuncturist, of course, as well.
And what kind of
herbs
patients?
are my love, and I have 300 of them, and I love to smell them and weigh them and dispense them.
What kind of patients do you see? What symptoms do you deal with?
Yeah, well, you think in terms of Chinese medicine. You think in terms of history. So, for example, they didn't know about high blood pressure because we didn't have a blood pressure cuff. So it's not real good for something like that. But if you have a digestive issue, oh my God, all the food poisonings in the past that they had, it's nothing better. So if you ever or a blood issue, something wrong with your blood, again, food poisoning and blood go right together. So then you begin to get a liver problem. If these we look at the body as like an onion skin, and the longer you have a disease or symptoms, more or less, the deeper they go into your body, and the more difficult they are to remove. So the idea is to get things early.
So if somebody had, say, heart disease and they were on drugs and they were sick of the drugs and they weren't getting better and they didn't feel good, you'd be a good guy to see to kind of help them
what I would
have
think
another
of
protocol.
I wouldn't even think of treating the heart. I would think of treating their poor liver that's being intoxicated by those drugs. So at least they can remove them quicker out of their system and then induce bowel movements so they get the heck out of the body as quickly as possible.
Good point. Yeah, a lot of times I wonder how much of our problems are caused by the drugs themselves that are supposed to be helping with the disease, with the illness.
They're a burden.
They're a burden on the body. That's exactly right, Dr. Peterson. Hey, listen, we got to take a break, but when we come back, I want you to talk a little bit about we're going to talk a little bit about the redox and the clays and all that stuff.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about light and energy.
Light.
Okay,
good.
It very interesting.
Okay, good. Hang on, Dr. Drew. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. Got lines open, 844-236-6010. We'll be back on The Bright Side right after this. On the bright side, 844-236-6010 is our number. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're talking to my good friend for, 10 years now, Dr. Drew?
Yeah, a long time now, Ben. Yeah.
You're also a rock star, aren't you?
I used to be when I was in high school. I actually got paid to play music. Yeah.
That's when I met you. That was the first thing you told me. You were like a famous guitar player.
Well, not really.
I think you told me that, though.
I'm just practicing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway.
By the way, if anybody wants to speak to me personally, my cell phone number is 303-746-6797. 303-746-6797. So if you have anything, if you're a local, you can call the office. If you have anything, otherwise, certainly call my cell number. Yeah. So before I became a hydroponic tomato grower and all those things in Colorado in the 70s, when I first got out of college,
is that the only thing you were growing?
Newspaper.
Is that the only thing you're growing was hydroponic tomatoes?
Honest, well, the state police used to come by every 6 months just to make sure we were, yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
We had a quarter acre under the glass, so I suppose we were a big threat, yeah. But anyway, we were NASA consultants at the time, and I used to use a thing called atomic absorption spectrophotometry. That's what we used to use to examine soil and do leaf analysis and water analysis for
on the minerals.
Yeah, for minerals. Yeah, transition
Wow.
minerals.
Wow.
I grew 100,000 pounds of tomatoes in 1973.
Well, hang on, Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you said something really very important there. So you're saying you use the transition metals
All the time.
That's awesome. That's
Right out of
awesome.
the
You use them
lab.
for as nutrients, as plant nutrients. Yes.
We would discover. This is why I got into human nutrition. Was I was doing plant nutrition on a huge level. Let's put it this way: my boss set up the hydroponic exhibit at Epcot. I mean, he was the big deal
in the 70s. In the 70s.
In the 70s. So
yeah,
we
I've
were
been
so
there.
far ahead of our time. I mean,
yeah, it's like food for the future, agriculture of the future.
Well, actually, we were experimenting. Westinghouse and GE gave us multi-vapor growing lights at the time to see how many hours a day plants could grow and plants needed to rest for the International Space Station, which never occurred, but that probably will happen on the Mars mission in one way or another. It's easier to recycle the fluids and bring the seeds on board and some perlite, mix perlite on board than it is to, other ways.
Now tell everybody what perlite is.
Perlite is just it looks like popcorn. It's the white stuff you see in your potted plants.
What is it from?
Magnesium. It's a silicate, magnesiosilicate.
Okay, so you were examining the soil for transition metals. First of all, transition metals plants love transition metals. You're absolutely correct, because they activate chemistry in the plant, especially sun chemistry. These transition metals. So they have a lot of electrical properties in the plant, and your point about the plants and the relationship between plant chemistry and plant nutrition and human chemistry and human nutrition is very important. What's good for the plants is...
It's no different.
Yeah, exactly. What's good for the plants is going to ultimately be good for us.
The more I learn about human nutrition, the more it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were examining the soils for transition metals, and what did you find?
Actually, we weren't using soils. We would use inert compounds and then make liquid. We use a liquid formula, and we'd use pumps to pump fluids through the system, keeping calcium and phosphorus separate from each other.
Now, but you were analyzing the soil. You said, I thought.
Oh yeah, we were analyzing with leaf. We were analyzing the roots.
What were you finding? What were you finding?
Well, we were finding certainly, like for example, when there's less sun, manganese would begin to accumulate in the roots and be slightly toxic to the plants. So, certain times of the year, you want to change your mineral profile.
So manganese, there's a relationship between the sun and manganese, and the manganese needed the sun for activation, otherwise toxic.
Otherwise, it would sit in the roots and be toxic.
Very interesting. Very interesting. How about deficiencies, soil deficiencies? Did you find anything there?
Well, we never did. We never used soils. That was the whole idea. Was because as soon as you do that, you lose control. Because
no, you were analyzing the soil.
The ion exchange in soils will interfere with all your hydroponic chemistry.
You were analyzing the soil, though, right?
Well, there was whatever was in the roots was in the soil.
So what were you finding as far as deficiencies?
What was taken up in the plant was more important than what was in the
so you were looking at the plant. You were looking just at
because we were working for commercial growers.
Got it.
We had 800 commercial growers we consulted for. If they bought our hydroponic formula, we would do free relief and water analysis in return for them. So we had a good business.
And what were you finding about the plants? Did you find that where there was a lot of irrigation, for example, were the plants more deficient, or did you find
it's all a function of how much fluid you pump through the inert medium and how much and your minerals and how much will be absorbed, because you certainly don't want to waste anything, and you don't want to accumulate toxins if you overdo it or if you underdo it. The plants will just die. They won't thrive.
And what did you use to feed the soil for the plant? Did you use anything?
We would use some things like potash, magnesium chloride, things like that. And then we'd also use molybdenum and vanadium and things like that, because we were getting into the micro trace elements. We were discovering how important they were. We had a carbon dioxide generator in the greenhouse that would increase production 15%. We were high tech.
And the transition, and what you call what we're calling the transition metals, were actually the ones that were the nutrients for the plants. These so-called heavy metals.
Yeah, and then from there I ended up working for a company that actually manufactured the spectrophotometers that we used in hydroponics. And I was a physical chemist, which was kind of hard for a biologist to kind of jump into.
That's awesome.
But I did.
What did you learn about clays?
You discover lights. Everywhere is light. We would use when you get to physical chemistry, as far as you can go down to the basics is what's called the incidence of coincidence, which just means that certain minerals give off light and certain other minerals absorb light. And when you fire them up or present any kind of field to them, either heat or magnetic, there's always a light given off and a light received. And that's why, and it comes from astronomy. We use those principles that we use to look at the elements of the stars and use it in the micro.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know what else? On planet Earth, there's a phenomena that's the macroscopic version of what you just described. You know what it's called?
Tell me.
Fire.
Yeah.
So
we use plasma. We would use, we would heat things up to 2,200 degrees, put them in the plasma state, and then they would absorb as the electrons move from one level to another. They give off light and absorb other frequencies.
Yeah, that's what a fire is. That's what a flame is. It's the giving off of light as this exchange is taking place. All of life is fire in this way. All of life is fire in the sense that it's all giving off of electricity, absorption, and giving off of electricity and release of light. That's exactly right. Yeah. That's pretty darn cool. Ancient people called it cosmic fire. Did you ever hear that term? Cosmic fire?
Of course. Yeah,
cosmic fire is the fire-like aspect of what you're talking about of the minerals and the electrons that you don't see as regular fire, but it's a type of fire in the sense that it's the giving off of light in response to the movement of electricity.
Yeah, ministerial fire. Yeah.
What's that?
Ministerial fire.
I hadn't heard that term, but that's probably along the same lines. Everything's about the movement of electricity, and the more labile something is in terms of an atom is in terms of its ability to move electricity, the more interesting it's going to be, the more nutritionally valuable it's going to be, but the more toxic it's going to be. And that's why these transition elements are so fascinating and so interesting and so misunderstood. Nobody really even nutritionists don't understand these things.
Like I say, incidence of coincidence. What does that mean?
Actually, the incidence of coincidence, but there is no coincidence.
Well, the Bureau of Standards gives you certain light frequencies that are emitted from minerals. We know the spectral analysis.
Well, I don't know. It seems to me like everything has like a logical explanation. Coincidence, two things happening at the same time.
Well, coincidence. That's just our weak minds observing.
Yeah, we don't catch on. We don't have the bird's eye view to see how everything's connected. So it looks like it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
All right, I think I'm running out of time here.
It was great talking to you, Ben.
Yeah, it's always good to talk to you. And by the way, good job on the phone team for Critical Health News. And if you guys are interested in signing up or talking to Dr. Drew not just on
my cell phone, 303-746-6797, Monday through Friday.
And you can also help people. You know the longevity products really well.
Oh yeah,
you're like my go-to. When it comes to the longevity
I like
products,
the specialty stuff, the occutive and
the specialty stuff,
curcumin and all that.
Yeah, exactly right. So if anybody's out there and you're not part of the longevity family or the longevity team, and you want longevity products, Dr. Drew.
I'll train you. Sign up as a distributor. I'll show you how the products work.
Yeah, Dr. Drew did an awesome upline.
It's not that hard. Yeah.
Good deal. All right, Dr. Drew, have a really good day. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. All right,
thanks.
All right, that's it. For now, we're out of time on the bright side. Thank you for listening. Check out our websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com, criticalhealthnews.com for all the longevity products. And don't forget to take a look at our Truth Skin Health products at truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. I am Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side. Have yourselves a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.
Echoes of my mind, body, soul.